tonight we are tackling a figure who, well, on the surface seems like the absolute epitome of simplicity, rigidity even, Piet Mondrian.
That's right. We're talking straight lines, 90-degree angles, and basically just red, yellow, and blue. Very strict.
But here's the surprising mission we're setting out on tonight. We need to understand how this really quiet, intensely disciplined Dutch man who obsessed over geometry, how he didn't just paint neat pictures.
No, not at all.
He fundamentally rewrote the visual rules for, well, the entire modern world.
That is the perfect framing for this. You probably think you know the iconic Mondrian grid, right? But what we're really going for tonight is the why. The why behind those lines.
Because it's not just about shapes.
Not even close. It's intensely philosophical, even spiritual. His work, it's like a fundamental shortcut, really, to understanding the invisible laws, the principles behind almost all modern design. Seriously.
So like things we see every day.
Exactly. Whether you're looking at your phone interface or the layout of a graphic ad, maybe a sleek, modern skyscraper, you are seeing Mondrian's DNA in there. And knowing this, it helps you instantly decode how you experience the modern visual world. It's pretty powerful stuff, actually.
Okay, let's unpack this journey then. We have to start, I think, with the image of young Piet. Born Peter Cornelis Mondrian, 1872, late 19th century Netherlands.
Yeah, paint that picture.
We're talking about a landscape that's, flat, quiet, religious.
Very ordered.
Inherently ordered, by canals and fields. And he's drawing quiet things, typical things like trees, fields, rivers. But the key, even then apparently, is that he's already searching for structure where maybe others just saw, nature.
That underlying quest, that almost obsessive need for order, that's the single most defining thing about his entire life, his entire career. Mondrian was utterly convinced there was a deeper harmony.
Like a code.
A divine code, underneath existence. And his art was the tool he had to try and reveal it. He wasn't interested in just painting reality as it looked.
No copies.
No, he wanted to depict the mechanism of reality, the structure behind it all.
So let's trace that journey back to its starting point, the quiet defiance of his Dutch beginnings. He grew up in Amersfoort. You described it, very tidy, religious.
Almost mathematically organized.
Yeah, that corner of the Netherlands.
And you really can't understand him without understanding that environment. It's crucial. The landscape itself is almost like a pre-composition, a naturally occurring grid.
How?
Well, you've got the flat horizon line, right?
Huh?
Then the vertical trees, the long, straight canals. Everything feels measured, aligned. He just absorbed this visual language from birth. It feels like the whole area was built from, quiet tones, wet cobblestones, and this real emphasis on tidiness.
And he had art lessons early on, right?
Yeah.
Which apparently created some tension immediately.
Oh, yeah. His father was a schoolmaster, an amateur painter himself. And his uncle, Fritz, he was a professional landscape painter. Taught him the right way, apparently.
The proper way to paint a cloud or a cow.
Exactly. But even in these early, really traditional realism paintings, you can see Piet's hand seeking out order. It's already there.
So even when he's trying to be realistic.
Yes, that's where the analysis gets really interesting. Even in his most academic early stuff, the symmetry is just a bit too perfect. The rhythm of the trees, the spacing of things in the landscape, it's unnaturally steady.
Really?
Yeah, it's been noted art historians now actually use geometry software to analyze the spacing between the trees in his paintings from the 1890s.
Wow.
And they confirm it. This pre-existing hunger for some kind of underlying mathematical structure, it was an instinct at that point, not yet a fully formed philosophy.
That sounds like a restless spirit, trying to fit this geometric peg into a very natural round hole.
That's a good way to put it.
So he goes to the Rijksacademy in Amsterdam, learns the proper proportion, anatomy, the academic stuff.
Right. But he wasn't satisfied just copying plaster busts and doing traditional Dutch scenes. You can feel the restlessness.
What was he doing instead?
Well, while his classmates were focused on getting the shading right on a still life, Mondrian was apparently sketching these tiny, almost secret experiments in the margins of his notebooks.
Like what?
Small grids, faint crosshatches, little repetitions that had absolutely nothing to do with the official lesson plan. He was already trying to find the elemental building blocks. What makes art tick?
And this restlessness, it leads us to what many see as his first, maybe quiet, but definitely defiant act against the Academy, the legendary purple cow moment.
Ah, yes, the purple cow.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, very humanizing detail, isn't it?
Tell us about it.
Okay, so the traditional assignment was probably something like paint a cow in a pasture, Focus on naturalistic tones, brown, black, white, the drill,
Standard stuff.
standard stuff. Mondrian turns in a piece where the animal is unmistakably purple, bright purple. So the
Yeah.
professor confronts him, probably quite sternly, demanding an explanation for this absurd departure from reality. And Pete's reply, apparently very soft-spoken, was just, because brown was boring.
Because Brown was boring. That's quite profound, actually. It's not just rejecting realism.
No, it's way more than that.
It's like a declaration that color, maybe feeling, holds more truth for him than just simple observation.
Exactly. He wasn't painting the biological reality of the cow. He was painting the emotional potential, the aesthetic potential of the form of the cow. He wanted purity, energy.
Yeah.
And if purple delivered that energy, well, then purple was the correct color.
It totally encapsulates his mission then, doesn't it? To paint how things should be in his view rather than just how they appear.
Perfectly put.
So, okay, he's struggling, trying to make ends meet, teaching drawing to students. He must have looked like the picture of conformity, right? Tidy mustache, chalk dust.
The dullest man alive, probably on the surface.
But inside, he's dreaming of light and purity. That tension between his sort of mundane existence and this grand internal philosophy, it must have been consuming.
Oh, absolutely. He was the most unlikely revolutionary imaginable. While his students are sketching apples and learning about shadows, he's outlining this completely new visual philosophy in the corners of his notebooks.
And you mentioned something surprising earlier that kind of bridges his Dutch background with his later abstract work, his fascination with insects.
Yes, the beetle collection. It sounds completely weird, right? How does that fit with severe geometry?
It does seem incongruous.
But it connects everything. He kept these collections, beetles, butterflies, and he obsessively studied their symmetry, their shell architecture, their internal balance.
He wasn't just admiring the pretty colors.
Not at all. He was admiring the structure.
Yeah.
This was his laboratory, in a way, connecting that seemingly natural chaos to those invisible geometric laws he sensed everywhere. For him, a beetle wing wasn't just a biological accident.
It was.
It was a perfect, tiny, structured expression of universal balance, design.
Wow. He's looking for the structure of being, the geometry beneath the surface of everything. Okay, that quiet Dutch life, it clearly couldn't contain that kind of ambition forever.
No way.
Let's move to his next big revelation, the one that really pushes him into more radical territory. Mysticism, color, and this search for harmony.
Right. So around the turn of the century, he needed more than just quiet meadows. He started seeking out inspiration in exhibitions. The Hague, Amsterdam.
And this is when he encounters impressionism properly.
Yes, this is when he has his big impressionist revelation. Seeing the vitality, the sheer color of artists like Van Gogh, Monet, it apparently hit him, as you said, like caffeine.
Yeah.
He realizes art could interpret reality, not just slavishly copy it. It was a huge shift in thinking for him.
And his own work changes dramatically then, becomes part of Dutch Luminism.
Exactly, which is a kind of mystical impressionism, really. The colors start to just radiate from within the canvas. We start seeing those famous orange, magenta, electric yellow skies that completely shocked the conservative critics back then.
They joked about it, didn't they?
They did. Critics joked. Mondrian sees colors the rest of us miss. But for him, this transition was absolutely essential. He wasn't trying to just paint pretty light effects.
He was digging deeper.
He was trying to find the essence, the emotional energy behind physical reality. Luminism was really his first big attempt to make the canvas vibrate with the feeling of the subject, not just the appearance of it.
And this quest for essence, for deeper meaning, it leads him directly to a crucial philosophical catalyst, theosophy.
Yes, this is huge for him.
Tell us about this movement. Why did it feel like destiny for Mondrian?
Well, theosophy at its core was this esoteric movement, kind of blending spiritual inquiry, bits of science, Eastern mysticism, largely influenced by figures like Helena Blavatsky.
Okay.
For the layman, though, it was basically the search for spiritual truth through cosmic geometry, the belief that mathematics held the key to the universe's soul. Mondrian attended a lecture.
And it just clicked.
It felt like someone handed him the sophisticated user manual for his own brain. It articulated everything he'd been feeling instinctively.
It gave him the intellectual framework, the justification for his geometric instinct.
Precisely. He found the theories of a guy named M.H.J. Schoenmakers particularly influential. Theosophy gave him the language to describe his instinct. This idea that visual balance, specifically the balance found in geometric alignment, could actually reveal spiritual truth. reveal the universal harmony governing existence.
So he wasn't just painting landscapes anymore.
No, in his mind, he was painting the structure of being, the silent engine running underneath the noise of everyday life.
It's just utterly fascinating that a man with such an intense, mystical, frankly grand ambition lived such an outwardly modest, disciplined life. Almost monastic, you said.
Absolutely.
And we have that strange, very human detail about his painting ritual, the humming.
Oh, the humming. It's one of the most revealing anecdotes we have about him, I think. Visitors to his studio noted he almost never painted in silence. He would hum.
What did he hum?
Apparently, softly, rhythmically, the same strange, very even tune. Over and over. They described it as sounding like a heartbeat or a constant internal pulse.
Wow. So he was literally establishing the tempo of the universe in his own way before applying it to the canvas.
That's exactly how I see it. That consistent rhythmic pulse, that strangely even tune. It would absolutely define the steady rhythm of his later abstract work. He was kind of humming his future geometry into existence, creating this meditative sonic environment that perfectly mirrored the visual order he was trying to capture.
This conviction, this mission, it finally forces a massive life decision, doesn't it? He realizes he can't keep teaching, living this quiet life.
No, the two couldn't coexist. He felt the artist must reveal the harmony of the universe. Teaching drawing just wasn't going to cut it anymore.
So he quits.
He just quits. No big drama, no fuss, no dramatic pronouncements. Just a quiet man folding up his teaching smock for good. He moves to a modest studio in Amsterdam and focuses entirely on distillation, pushing his art further.
And his key motif during this transitional period becomes the tree, right? A single tree, over and over.
Yes, repeated again and again, version after version. It becomes his testing ground for abstraction.
He takes the tree and starts removing everything that makes it, well, look like a tree.
Exactly. The trunk becomes maybe just a pair of vertical lines. The branches start to merge into this rhythmic cross-hatchings, like a visual prayer almost, trying to distill nature down into its absolute inner geometry.
He wasn't painting a windmill anymore.
He was painting the concept of the intersection of forces. He was ready to find the absolute.
And that search for the absolute, it takes him at the relatively late age of 39.
Yeah, he wasn't a young man.
To the heart of chaos and creation, Paris.
1911. He boards the train for Paris, the absolute epicenter of modernism. And he goes with this almost laughably idealistic dream to find the universal language of art among the noise and bustle of Montparnasse.
Paris at that time. It's pure noise, revolutionary art, intense intellectual sparring. He hits the galleries, and of course he encounters Picasso and Brecht's Cubism.
Right. And at first, apparently, he was a bit skeptical of their fragmented approach. It seemed messy, maybe.
But then
he quickly realized their fragmentation wasn't random at all. It was systematic. He saw that they, too, were seeking order, just in a different way. By taking reality apart, piece by piece, to understand its internal structure. Mondrian realized Cubism was dissecting the object to find its internal geometric force field.
And he synthesizes their work so perfectly. He concludes that Cubism is the logical conclusion of Impressionism.
That statement just encapsulates his whole trajectory, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Impressionism dealt with light. Cubism dealt with logic.
Light plus logic.
Equals destiny for Mondrian. His trees, which were already halfway to abstraction back in the Netherlands, now completely shatter. They splinter into these interlocking planes and lines. Look at Great Tree from 1911. If you really look at that painting, he's not painting leaves or bark anymore. He's painting the energy pathways that hold the tree up. It's like the skeleton of the universe revealed.
And while he's there, in Paris, he makes this symbolic, very personal gesture of reinvention. It just screams, the cult of precision has begun.
Oh, yeah. He deliberately dropped the extra A from Mondrian.
To become just Mondrian.
Yeah, exactly. It was a conscious severing of ties with the slower, maybe more provincial Netherlands.
Yeah.
He was embracing modernity, becoming a citizen of this new world. One writer noted kind of cheekily, he dropped an A and found abstraction.
Huh. And his studio reflected this new identity.
Completely. White walls, very sparse, calculated furniture placement. It looked less like a room and more like a three-dimensional equation. He was even quoted saying, "Disorder disturbs my vision." He needed that external order.
And that conviction, that need for order, it led to one of the most famous and frankly most intense anecdotes about him. The incident with the visitor and misplaced chair.
The chair incident. It is the perfect illustration of his almost spiritual compulsion toward order. So, a visitor is in his Montparnasse studio. They're engaged in some deep intellectual conversation.
Right.
The visitor, without thinking, just accidentally nudges their chair slightly, moves it off the perfectly aligned grid Mondrian had established for all his furniture.
Off-center by how much? Like a tiny bit.
Exactly. Maybe 2 or 3 inches. Nothing major to anyone else. But Mondrian immediately stops the conversation mid-sentence.
Stops talking.
Dead stop. Gets up, walks over to the chair, and calmly, silently repositions it exactly where it belonged on his mental grid. Then sits back down and resumes the conversation as if nothing happened, without even acknowledging the interruption.
Wait, so the visitor moves the chair slightly. Mondrian prioritizes fixing the visual field over continuing this deep philosophical discussion, puts the chair back, and then they just pick up where they left off.
Yeah.
That's not just discipline. That's treating your environment like a sacred text that absolutely must not be altered.
It's the ultimate expression of his belief, isn't it? That abstraction and order weren't just artistic choices for him, they were moral imperatives, spiritual necessities. And remember the context.
What was happening then?
This was happening against the backdrop of Europe mobilizing for the Great War. World War I is looming. For Mondrian, creating perfect visual order, even just within his 4 white walls, was maybe the only way he felt he could counter the global chaos he saw gathering outside.
He was trying to tidy up civilization one chair at a time.
Pretty much.
And that impending global chaos, it catches up to him personally. 1914, World War I breaks out while he happens to be visiting the Netherlands.
And he gets trapped there. Can't get back to Paris.
So this enforced isolation, it leads to the final massive philosophical shift, pure abstraction to still, and what you called the divine code.
Isolation became, well, the fertile ground for his biggest revelation yet. Cut off from the direct Cubist influences of Paris, he dove even deeper into theory, especially Schoenmaker's ideas. He was determined now to dismantle the cathedral of nature completely. Just get rid of it. Find the pure geometry hidden inside.
And this is when the lightning bolt idea from theosophy really crystallizes. The two fundamental oppositions.
Yes, this becomes the absolute core of all his later work.
Tell us about that dualism.
It's the horizontal line and the vertical line. That's it. The horizontal represents the earth, nature, calm, the feminine principle, you could say.
Okay.
The vertical represents the spirit, energy, dynamism, the masculine principle. And when they meet crucially, at a precise right angle, 90 degrees, that meeting point is harmony. It's truth. It's the sacred spiritual moment captured visually.
Wow. So his art isn't just intersecting lines on a canvas. It's literally painting the spiritual collision of these fundamental complementary forces. He decides he's going to paint the universal, not the particular.
Exactly. Goodbye, fragmented trees. Hello, pure geometry.
And he finds a collaborator who's on the same wavelength.
He finds a really powerful collaborator in Theo van Doesburg, a restless architect, thinker, artist. Together, they found the magazine Distill the Style in 1917.
And this becomes more than just a magazine.
Oh, much more. It becomes a foundational blueprint for modernism, uniting abstract art, graphic design, architecture, all under one coherent philosophy.
And they introduced the world to neoplasticism, a philosophy that came with these incredibly strict, almost religious visual rules.
The mandate was absolute. Only red, blue, yellow, the 3 primary colors.
Nothing else.
And only black and white, the non-colors, which act as the structuring elements, the lines and planes. Critically, absolutely no gradients, no shading, no shadows.
Why no shadows?
Because shadows belong to optical reality, the world of appearances, not spiritual reality, which was pure and flat. Each color had to be used as a pure, singular instrument in this visual symphony he was composing.
His painting method during this phase, it must have been exhausting. The rigor involved.
Meticulous doesn't even begin to cover it. He would never just commit a line immediately. He used paper strips, masking tape, on the canvas,
Moving them around.
constantly rearranging those strips for days, sometimes weeks, by mere millimeters, just testing the proportions, the balance, the tension. People who watched him work described it as watching someone rearrange the universe with a ruler.
That's intense.
But for all its austerity, the resulting art, it just hums with this internal emotion. It really does. It's like spiritual architecture rendered in 2 dimensions.
Let's focus on the line itself for a second, because there's a subtle but really critical detail there that gives the work its characteristic tension.
Yes, this is so important. If you look closely at his mature neoplastic works, the black lines, they never quite touch the edge of the canvas.
They stop just short.
They stop just short. This tiny gap, this little bit of breathing space around the composition is genius. If the line went all the way to the edge, the composition would feel static, contained, finished.
Right, locked in.
Exactly. By stopping short, he creates this intense visual tension. It suggests that the harmony, the grid, continues beyond the frame. It makes the work vibrate and feel alive within its boundary. It's like the visual equivalent of an intake of breath, ensuring the painting is perpetually dynamic, not static.
But even within this shared quest for absolute harmony, the partnership with the Van Doesburg, it wasn't destined to last, was it? There's the famous fracturing of their friendship,
Yeah, that relationship breaks down.
and it happens over one small geometric detail, the diagonal line.
It seems almost unbelievable, doesn't it? But Mondrian treated the grid, the right angle, like a sacred, unchangeable blueprint for the universe. When Van Doesburg, who was maybe more influenced by the dynamism of the new machine age, started introducing diagonals into his own designs for Distill,
Mondrian couldn't handle it.
he recoiled in horror. A diagonal line breaks the sacred right angle. It shatters the cosmic harmony.
For Mondrian, it was a betrayal.
Absolutely. To Mondrian, the diagonal belonged to the past. It represented naturalistic movement, subjective feeling, chaos. He wrote very sternly that the diagonal belongs to the past, and he promptly withdrew from Distill. He preferred his solitary, purified quest for the right angle.
It just highlights the depth of his conviction. This wasn't just a style choice for him.
No, it was a religious schism. Truly.
So he returns to Paris after World War I, still clinging to his grid, his right angles. But then the rising chaos of the 1930s hits Europe, the threat of fascism.
Which viewed abstraction as degenerate art.
Right. That sends him fleeing again, first to London.
Yeah, he would spend the early years of World War II in London, painting under blacked-out windows during the Blitz, often apparently just by the light of a single lamp.
Even with bombs falling outside.
Even then, he maintained his composure, his precise rhythmic work. And then, in 1940, at the age of 68, he boards a ship for New York. He arrives, clutching his portfolio, ready for a new chapter, another escape.
And this transition, New York, it marks the final, incredible, and maybe most rhythmic phase of his work, the rhythm of the future. He's expecting chaos, maybe, but he finds a muse instead.
Absolutely. He lands in New York, and the city's sheer, exhilarating grid, the crazy verticality of the skyscrapers, the strict horizontal street plan, it hits him like a chord struck on a piano, he said. He felt the lines were dancing.
The city was a neoplastic dream made real.
And gigantic.
Yeah.
It resonated deeply with everything he'd been searching for.
And he immediately transforms his living space, again, into an extension of his art.
Oh, completely. His studio on East 56th Street became his final, maybe greatest work of interior design. White walls, accented with these shifting lines of colored tape. Furniture was integrated into the geometric scheme. He even dropped the extra A from his name again.
Symbolically shedding the old world.
Symbolically shedding the heavy, war-torn old world. He was reborn, in a way. The geometry monk turned city dancer.
And this environment, this energy, it fuels a massive stylistic revolution in his painting. The severe black lines, which were the anchors of all his European work, they just vanish.
They vanish entirely. This is the most shocking and, I think, brilliant evolution of his entire career. That rigid black grid is replaced by these vibrant, thin pathways of yellow and pulsating blocks of primary color.
Yeah.
Red, blue, but also gray squares now.
What caused such a drastic shift?
He embraced the city's culture, specifically the syncopated energy of American jazz.
He became a serious fan.
A huge fan of the boogie-woogie pianists, people like Count Basie, Fats Waller. And the key thing is, he wasn't just listening to the music.
He was trying to translate it.
He was trying to translate that syncopated rhythm into a visual language, trying to sync his brush, or rather his colored tape, with the rhythm of the future, as he saw it in jazz.
So the music became the choreography for the painting.
Literally. He would listen to these complex, asymmetrical, but still somehow ordered rhythms of boogie-woogie piano, and he'd adjust the spacing of his lines, the little color squares on the canvas, to match the feel of the music. If a passage felt too fast, he'd adjust a line, maybe make it thinner or break it up.
So the painting becomes this incredible dialogue between sight and sound. He's measuring the visual space by the pulse of the music.
Exactly. And this culminates in his most famous American work, Broadway Boogie Woogie, from 1942. It wasn't a static cityscape he was painting.
No, it feels alive.
It was the city breathing, a visual symphony of order and freedom playing together. Those intense yellow lines are like the pulse of Broadway itself. The tiny squares are the syncopation, the flashing lights, the taxicabs darting through the grid. He once said of this new work, "I want to make paintings that people can live inside, where the eye can dance."
That is such a powerful shift, isn't it? From the austere geometrician of Paris Finding this rhythmic, joyful freedom at 70 years old in New York. Amazing.
Truly remarkable.
He started his final piece, Victory Boogie Woogie, still chasing this vibrant harmony, this rhythm.
Still pushing it further.
But he fell ill in 1944 and never finished it, left it taped up on the easel.
But the legacy he left behind is just staggering.
Yeah.
Because his aesthetic, his ideas, they moved instantly off the canvas and deep into the DNA of modernity itself. He basically taught the world how to breathe visually, how to achieve maximum effect through maximum simplification.
Let's talk about architecture first. His concepts were absolutely foundational to the whole modern movement, right?
Oh, fundamentally. Think of Le Corbusier's famous dictum that a house is a machine for living. That owes a debt to this kind of thinking. But the clearest, most direct, three-dimensional realization of neoplasticism has to be the Rietveld Schroeder house in the Netherlands.
Explain that one.
It's truly a Mondrian painting made habitable, designed by Gerrit Rietveld, who was part of the Still. It features these cantilevered structures, sliding walls, and crucially, primary colored beams, blue walls, black lines against white surfaces.
You can live inside the painting.
It is a neoplastic painting unrolled into three dimensions. It proved that the spiritual harmony Mondrian was searching for could literally be built into the fabric of daily life.
Okay, and then there's the jump into high fashion, which seems unlikely, but his concepts became incredibly street-ready.
Yeah, this is where the high art spiritual quest totally becomes pop culture. In 1965, Yves Saint Laurent just revolutionizes the fashion industry with his Mondrian collection.
The dresses.
The dresses. These minimalist, straight-cut wool jersey dresses patterned in those stark black grids and blocks of primary colors. Red, yellow, blue.
They made women look like walking pieces of modern art. It was such a statement.
And they were instantly iconic. Saint Laurent himself admitted later, quite frankly, I didn't design them. Mondrian did. It proved that discipline and order could be beautiful, desirable, chic, not just academic or severe.
But if we want to talk about true mass market legacy, something that affects almost everyone listening, we have to talk about the screen you're probably holding in your hand right now.
Oh, absolutely. We owe Mondrian a quiet but massive debt for the visual grammar of the entire digital age.
How so? He died long before computers.
Because Mondrian essentially designed the foundational visual rules for almost all contemporary user experience, UX, and graphic design. Think about the need for instant clarity and recognition on a small screen.
Right, you need simplicity.
You need efficiency, the philosophy of minimalism, the organized layout of a web page grid, the neat, perfectly aligned rows of app icons on your phone. That is all neoplasticism, applied to a smartphone or a website.
He gave us the universal language for spatial alignment, the white background, the minimal color palettes, the clear division of information.
Every single time your screen aligns perfectly and feels intuitive and calm, not cluttered, he wins. Mondrian wins.
The digital age needed a universal, legible visual language that could transcend culture and spoken language.
And Mondrian's grid provided it. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? He was aiming for universal spiritual harmony.
And what he achieved was universal digital usability.
Pretty much sums it up.
Now, the debate about his work, it still continues today. There's that inherent tension we talked about. Did he tame chaos successfully, or did he end up sterilizing emotion?
That is still the central argument, yeah. Some critics back then, and even now, insist he took the passion, the soul, out of painting by removing nature, removing the human form. They called it cold, academic, sterile.
But his defenders,
and there are many, argue the opposite. That he made the soul more visible by removing all the clutter, all the surface noise. The enduring power of his work is that tension. It's the horizontal calm arguing with the vertical conviction right there on the canvas.
What's certain, though, is that he taught the modern world that art is fundamentally about relationships. It's how one block of yellow relates to a surrounding black line, how space defines form, how balance works.
He believed that simplicity, when done right, vibrates with meaning. It's not empty, it's full.
And that ties back directly to his core philosophy, that theosophical idea.
Art is higher than reality. To approach the spiritual in art, one will make as little use as possible of reality. He wanted to find universality. And he achieved it remarkably, not through grand, detailed epics, but through the silence and the space between the lines.
So let's just quickly review the man behind all this geometry. We started with this quiet, almost timid Dutch boy, obsessed with finding a pattern in nature.
Yeah.
And we end with the architect of modern visual language, a man who dedicated his entire life to discipline, to ritual, and to this relentless spiritual pursuit of balance.
And remember those humanizing details along the way. His quiet humming in the studio, his precise, maybe slightly obsessive humor with the repositioned chair,
Huh, yeah.
his eventual joyful acceptance of the world's rhythm through jazz in New York.
Yeah.
He was a man who saw the world not as some random mess, but as a potential blueprint, ordered, balanced, and actually intensely alive.
He painted not to dominate the canvas, but maybe to harmonize the universe, seeking that steady, gentle pulse in a very chaotic world.
And that leads us perfectly to our final thought for you to consider. Mondrian spent his life proving that beauty, and maybe truth too, are not always loud, complex, or chaotic. Sometimes they are quiet, deliberate, perfectly composed.
So, the next time you look at a sleek digital layout or a minimalist piece of furniture or even just the geometric rhythm of a city street,
Take a moment. Try to notice the subtle rhythms, the spaces between the lines in your own world. That harmony Mondrian was searching for, it exists just beneath the noise. You maybe just need a little bit of his discipline, his focus to truly see it.